Chicago police homicide detectives were slowly beginning to piece together the shattered fragments of Ash Pandy's last days. But one question remained unanswered. Who would want to kill the prominent businessman?
How about Richard Dykes? Do you know Richard Dykes?
Well, you know, I see him around, you know, in the neighborhood here and there. I hang around with him. You know, we go drinking and stuff.
It's a little more than that, Dennis. Cut the BS, okay? You're on his payroll. Richard Dykes paid you cash.
Okay, all right. You know, he'll give me a check, all right, for like $3,000. You know.
Dennis Soto said that what Mr. Dykes would do would be cut him a large check. Dennis would then cash that check. Dennis Soto would cash that check and keep some of the funds, and then he would kick back the rest of the money to Mr. Dykes, and Mr. Dykes would pocket the money.
He gave me a gun one time, you know. He wanted me to fix it for him. You know?
He stated that Richard Dykes did hire him to make some silencers.
And he gave me these books, and he wanted me to make this, you know, this silencer for this gun.
What were these books about?
Richard Dykes actually brought him 3 books on how to make homemade silencers.
Nothing wrong with that, right?
Right now, would you sign a consent to search your apartment?
Oh, for you to go in?
Yes.
Well, yeah, okay, yeah, that's all right.
You have nothing to hide?
No, I don't have nothing to hide.
He said there were silencer books on how to make silencers in the apartment. My partner, Rich Chernikovich, and Tom McLaury went to that location and retrieved these books.
Now, you gotta be honest with us. You gotta tell the truth. Okay, a man's dead here.
He then gave a full confession to his involvement, Anthony Spencer's involvement, and how Richard Dykes masterminded this whole scheme to kill Ashwani Pandy.
Okay, look, I'll tell you what happened, all right? This is the truth. I was over at Dykes' house,
He said that Mr. Dykes was supposed to have a meeting with Ash Pandy on that date, on the 8th of January. Prior to that, Dykes had spoken to Mr. Soto and Mr. Spencer, and the plan was hatched that they were going to kill Mr. Pandy because he had caught on to their scheme, and Mr. Pandy was going to blow the whistle on him, basically.
And I was by his house. We're having a drink, you know, and this Pandy guy, he comes over and drank.
Oh, there's none left. We must have drank it all. Hey, there's another bottle in the bedroom. Why don't you go grab it?
He was lured into a back bedroom, and Mr. Spencer was waiting with a handgun, a .38, with a silencer, homemade silencer on it.
Hey, Spencer, hold him down! Shoot him! Hold him down! This guy, I'm holding him his hand! Hold him! Shoot him!
The silencer, being homemade and didn't work properly, it just injured Mr. Pandy at the time. It did not kill him. They then moved him to the bathroom, gave him a towel, sat him down, and then they decided they didn't know what they were going to do. They were kind of panicked. They demanded Mr. Pandy's ATM card, and they demanded the PIN number, and they got it.
Come on, get him over here. We got to get him out of here. Come on.
The 3 of them took him down the elevator, and they put him in Mr. Spencer's car. They drove from downtown Chicago to the west side of Chicago with Mr. Dykes and Mr. Soto in Mr. Dykes' car, tailing them. They escorted him out of the car, telling him that he was going to go to the hospital. He had no idea where he was, and that's when Mr. Spencer shot him numerous other times, killing him right there on the scene.
With the confession Dennis Soto gave us, we then went out to look for Anthony Spencer to place him under arrest.
We told him he was under arrest for the murder of Ash Pandy. We found his car, the car that was used to transport Mr. Pandy to the murder location. We towed that car. We then went to Area 4 headquarters with Mr. Spencer, where he was questioned.
Anthony Spencer was brought into Area 4, at which time he was advised of his Miranda rights. He was questioned into the murder of Ashwani Pandy. We asked him if he ever used an ATM machine.
Have you ever used a machine at all?
Never.
Never?
No, I ain't got no ATM card.
He denied it vigorously twice. At that point, my partner Joe Walsh shows him the ATM photos.
These are ATM transactions used on the victim's ATM card, okay? Withdrawals made. Recognize this guy?
It's me.
At which time he looked at him and he says, "I've got a problem."
Can I ask you a question?
Sure, anything you want.
You gonna go pick up Dykes? You should. He's the one who masterminded this whole thing.
Spencer's saying, yeah, okay, I did it, but the real bad guy is Dykes, and you have him because I don't feel it's fair for you to have me and not get the guy that's really behind all of this. And we told him, no, we don't have him yet, but we're gonna get him.
We then contact the crime lab. The crime lab goes up, prepares the bathroom for this luminol process. It's a chemical that's put down there. No matter how much you try to clean up blood in an area, you're not going to get all of it. The luminol process proved very positive for us.
Myself and my partner stayed at the scene, attempting to locate and arrest Mr. Dykes. And lo and behold, here he was, a short time later, coming down Chestnut Street. He said hello to us, and then we placed him under arrest for the murder of Ash Pandey, placed him in handcuffs, and he was transported to Area 4 headquarters for questioning.
After an intensive investigation, detectives had arrested Richard Dykes and 2 accomplices for the murder of Ash Pandey. Now it was up to prosecutors to unravel the twisted conspiracy.
The key piece of evidence, without a doubt, was the defendant's statement. We learned through his words how that murder occurred, why that murder occurred. We learned about the interaction between the victim, Mr. Ashwani Pandey, and all 3 defendants.
And what happened during your confession?
They made me start to say things that they wanted to hear. They wouldn't let me go to sleep.
The defense's strategy was going to be basically that the statement was coerced, that the defendant was beaten by the police officers.
And that's how come I told them that.
I felt very confident after we rested our case in chief. The reason for that, our evidence was very, very strong.
Counsel, Mr. Soto, please rise. Based upon the evidence presented in this case, I find that the people of the state of Illinois have proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt, and you are guilty as charged.
Oh, I hereby.
He, in fact, was sentenced to 60 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections for this crime.
No, listen, did you tell me it was Dykes? It wasn't me, okay?
The Spencer trial was, in fact, a bench trial. The defense waived a jury trial and had the judge in the courtroom hear the evidence and decide Spencer's fate. The evidence that was presented was basically the same as was the evidence that was presented during the Dennis Soto trial.
Counsel and Mr. Spencer, please rise. After hearing the evidence of this case and having a sentencing hearing, I hereby order that you are sentenced.
The defendant, Anthony Spencer, was sentenced to natural life.
Richard Dykes was starting to pretend that he was unfit for trial and was acting as if he was unfit, and so he had been sent to be evaluated by a psychiatrist to determine whether he in fact is fit for trial or not.
I have reviewed the psychiatric report and evaluation, and it is clear to this court that Mr. Dykes has attempted to deceive not only the doctor in this matter, but the court. I hereby order that this cause will be set for trial and is so set for trial on Monday at 9 a.m. It is so ordered. Thank you.
The The attorney on Richard Dykes had approached us with a plea offer that the defendant would in fact plead guilty to natural life if the state would not seek the death penalty.
Your Honor, we've spoken to the victim's family, and based on our conversation with the family, we've reached an agreement with the defense in this case. In exchange for the defendant pleading guilty and agreeing to a sentence of natural life in prison, the state will agree not to seek the death penalty in this case. And this is in accordance with the wishes of the family.
I think that these are some of the best detectives that the Chicago Police Department has. They did an absolutely outstanding job in this case, of solving this case, in getting the confessions from all three of these individuals. These detectives were just among the best there are.
I'm Brian Dennehy. Join me for the next episode of Arrest and Trial.